In central midfield, obviously, I mean, a lot of the talk has been around Kobbie and Kobbie's role going forward. That's the fact that Ugarte came on today and instead of him will only fan those flames in the short term. I mean, personally, I'm very calm over Kobbie's ability to learn and adapt. He is still young. He's got a lot of experience. So I don't know. I'm quite calm over that. But in the short term, where do you see the situation?
So short term is the issue, isn't it? Right. So we've seen him perform well for at least two of those preseason games when he's and then the other two he's come on and done well, and then last week not really had a sniff, and then this week obviously not used at all. So short term, it is a worry. Now, again, as you know, from an analyst point of view, you wouldn't get two games into the season. He's chosen Ugarte to come in there today and sweep up and try to keep possession. But when you look in a little more detail, there is a worry. First and foremost, player form, player mentality. Ugarte just isn't at Kobbie's level when you look at the preseason. I'm sure you're bored of me saying already that the simple overview is often the better overview, and Kobbie has performed way better than Ugarte. Apart from that game he had against West Ham, Ugarte did not perform well in pre-season, and you would say he's not ready for this new Premier League season. So, and when you look at today's game and the game state when Ugarte comes into the fray, the question would have to be asked: would Kobbie be the better person there? Because what he's essentially saying is, I'm going to put in, a guy that covers the ground in front of the back three and back five, put his foot in, win possession and release. But could the thinking have been slightly different? Could it have been, I'm going to bring Kobbie on. He's done some excellent work in recent weeks. He seems fitter, stronger. He seems brilliant in possession. And he would offer us more control, more incisive passing, more positive passing. That's not always forward. I'm not going to say, he's a more forward-thinking player than Ugarte, but he can also play it safe, keep the ball, move into the right position, certainly into those pockets, left and right, central midfield areas. More than Ugarte can at this moment in their respective careers. So there is a slight worry there. But I'm like you. I think he's a fantastic player. And whilst Casemiro and Fernandes have deserved their starts, there's surely got to be room for Kobbie to come in and make an impact. And today I thought was the perfect game for him to do that, even at 0-0, by the way. So not just that 1-0 where he can be used to come in and shore things up and keep possession, that lovely control that he has of the football. It could have been used at 0-0 as well. And, Casemiro on a yellow card, Kobbie on, taking turns with Bruno to really, get the ball into Mount, Cunha and Bumo and really go and support.
In theory, that's like all things being equal, let's say, you're setting up in a 3-4-2-1 against really any team. Where would you stick Kobbie? Where would you see his perfect position being?
So I would obviously think, he's a central midfielder. There's this debate: is he a 6? Is he an 8? Is he a 10? I don't think he's a 6 or a 10 personally, but there is a room in that central midfield area. Your classic 8, your classic up and down. We can name the 6 or 7 centre midfielders that have been wonderful for us. So he's not quite that Carrick player, and he's not a marauding Brian Robson, and he certainly isn't a I don't know. Is he a Veron style player? He's not the classic 10 that Veron was at Lazio. Is he a Veron for United style player? Which on his day, Juan Sebastian was incredible. I know he didn't get along particularly well in his early days with the Stretford end, but so you're then trying to profile Kobbie, and he is really difficult to profile, and that is an issue for him. And I'm sure he kind of, he kind of thumps the table in frustration at that, because although he's superb when he's on the ball, so you think, oh great, he's going to be the guy that is the linchpin. He's going to sit in the 6 role like Carrick used to, like the latter day Roy Keane used to. And then you think, well, no, because he's not got the positional acumen. He's not got the the nipping, the interception that Carrick was renowned for, the getting the ball and then spraying it. So he has to be in that 8 role for me. And then, of course, you've got the question: where does he fit with Bruno? Because if Bruno is dropping in, given the signings we've made, does he play alongside Bruno? And I don't think, given what we said last week, this week about Amorim and his kind of erring on the side of caution, that you see that much. We certainly didn't see it much last season. So there's not really reason to think we'll see it much this season. But I do think that's his best position. So at times, will we see Mainoo and Casemiro and then Bruno back into his favourite position in left 10? We did say there'd be an issue with Bruno in central midfield, and we have seen that in the 2 games so far.
In terms of Kobbie, you talk about the acumen there. That is something that can be picked up over time, though, isn't it? And can he become a 6? Can he learn from Casemiro? One of the leading exponents.
Yeah, and it's funny because you look at Casemiro now for United against how he was for Real Madrid, and yes, he's sitting in a lot more than he used to. But generally, again, there's a comparison to be made there. But in terms of where Casemiro used to play in the field for Real Madrid and occupying a certain role next to Modric and getting up and down. There's shots, there's through balls, and then he's back in transition, he's making the slide tackles. So I guess, again, it goes back to what Amorim thinks and how he profiles Kobbie. I do think Amorim likes him. I don't think there's any issue there. I think he knows what he has to offer. But the question becomes, where does Mainoo fit in a 3-4-2-1? And he doesn't seem strong enough for the 8 at the moment. And he certainly doesn't, or in my opinion, shouldn't see him as one of the 10s behind Sesko.
I feel like I'm always preaching patience, and I'd hate to bore people with that. But if you can, skip a year, Kobbie will have learned more. He will have developed more. If the contract issue doesn't become an issue, if he's patient as well, and he knuckles down, and all parties commit to, right, let's make him fit, then it should be really, really quite straightforward, shouldn't it?
Yeah, and again, go back to what we were saying earlier. I know you and I rate him. The vast majority of Manchester United fans rate him. I don't think there's a fitness issue now since he's come back into the fold, last springtime. And I feel as if there's a part to play for him. But if you're playing 4-2-3-1, he's definitely starting every week. If you play 4-3-3, he starts every week. But because Amorim rigidly sticks to the 3-4-2-1, despite the nuances of that and the fluency at times, that's where the question becomes, where does Kobbie fit? And now I personally think he will come in at one point, whether that's an injury to someone in the area or a suspension or what have you, or seeing that Ugarte isn't providing it at the moment, isn't quite at the levels you'd expect. I think we will see Kobbie in there.
I mean, it's a bit reductive, but I would just say to Kobbie, change his mind.
Absolutely.
Get out there and force yourself in.
Yeah, 100%. 100%.